in the chat. Just make sure you set the question to public instead of private. That way we know to address your question to the entire group. As well, are we live?
Yeah.
Hello, welcome everybody in Facebook and YouTube and wherever else we're streaming land. This is CLCI Live Lunch and Learn. We're going to be here with our soon to be graduated Coaching 102 Master Certified Life Coaches. So we're going to answer all your questions about business, marketing, possibly coaching in general. But myself and Brooke aren't just the only experts here. We understand that everybody comes here with their own experience and expertise. So if you have something to chime in as well, or maybe some advice or answers to one of the questions, feel free to join into the discussion. We will be monitoring Facebook and YouTube in case anybody has questions there, as well as our own Zoom chat. Just a quick introduction. My name is Anthony. I am the project director with Certified Life Coach Institute, and I head up the projects here, the copy editing, the copywriting. I've worked with Brooke at a side business called Cutting Marketing, where we, worked exclusively with coaches on building their website and their brand and their copy editing. So that's a little bit of background on myself, and I sort of specialize in that writing aspect. Brooke, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Brooke, and I am a Chief Strategy Officer here. A lot of background in marketing as well as entertainment and business strategy. So here to answer your questions as best to my ability. And when what we do not know, we will say we do not know. And you'll be surprised. You all probably know a lot more than you realize. So and that's all.
So we can jump right in. Nicole, you had your hand raised even before we went on break, so I'll let you go first.
He's ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to ask some questions on maybe finding a way to hire a team, solicit for a team, or trying to outsource some tasks that can put my business on automate.
Gotcha. So when you're talking about, putting a team together, you got to think about the individual teammates that will make up this team and their sort of functions. What jobs were you looking for them to take over?
And that's the thing, trying to figure out, because I was looking up coaching staff and coaching employees and looking at some of the things that I need them to do. Of course, social media would be one of them. To manage my calendar would be another thing. I'm sorry.
Okay, yes. So social media, I'm hearing social media, manage your calendar, just as much you want, as much automated as possible, essentially, which I can appreciate. One red flag goes up when I hear that, and that is just remember though that it's your business, so you're always going to have to be involved, right? And because you're the coach, you're probably always going to have a deeper and more intimate knowledge of your client and what they need to hear than any buddy you hire with regard to marketing and social media. So any social media manager, person, strategist, etc., they're always going to look to you first to answer questions with regard to what you want that content to look like and to be. And you're just going to have to still, I would say, absolutely keep a pulse on what's going on with your social and with your marketing. I think it's almost impossible to just step completely out of it, because you have that knowledge of what who your client is and what they need and what they need to hear far better, I would say, than most social media managers. Because if you're going to find it, so what social media manager would be the person that's going to post for you and create your content and do all of that, but they'll always ask you first to create a brand for them. And show them what that brand is and that brand message and help you build that out. There's a lot of tools they can use to help you build the content, but I would say you probably still at least maybe it's me and I'm just more of a control freak though. And then as far as like automating calendar and all of that stuff, that's something Anthony can really speak to. And I can speak to. There's a ton of tools out there that can help you do that, that you don't even need a human being necessarily to do that.
So Nicole,
But
I tend to classify sort of the automating or maybe possibly getting someone else to do it as a job into two categories. It's things that are outside my expertise, and then things that I know how to do. They're just incredibly tedious or they take up a lot of time. So with the latter things, I guess let's start with the former. Things that are outside your expertise. Maybe it's social media marketing. You want somebody who kind of knows what they're doing in terms of creating graphics, helping transform a message that you already have. You might want to check to see, like, I know Fiverr, Thumbtack can be like, you can find services for social media managers. You can find other websites you like, and at the bottom they should say like who the website was made by, and you could possibly find like who the social media manager is that way as well. So those are a way to look for maybe
and
outsourcing.
also, I mean, okay, something to keep in mind is knowing who your client is and what social media platform
They
they're
use.
going to be on, because different managers have a better expertise in different areas of social
Mhm.
media. So you're a lot of times somebody's really good at Facebook or really good at Instagram, but they're lacking in LinkedIn or TikTok. And sometimes too, you'll find these organizations, especially ones that want to help coaches, have a very specific way of doing things on a very specific platform, and they say this is what works. And it may not be where your client is. So knowing that first is really critical.
Yeah.
I would say. The automating with what Anthony was saying and the tools for like the scheduler, there is all kinds of stuff. There's also, you can hire virtual assistants too. That's the other question you probably want to answer for yourself is, do I want this person, these people who are going to be managing these things for me, to be people I can meet with in person, or do I want them to be done in a virtual space? Because that'll make a big difference too. I just know I've tried to reach out to various organizations, various things, and I always find it's lacking. I found it's best to find a human being that I trust. That so that's like Jerome. I brought Jerome in, and I knew that Jerome could create content and edit things and create posts, and that's what he does. But we have more than just Jerome now that does works in our social in different spaces, because there's a whole lot to it. So
Yeah, you could go as far as just creating a
I'm
not
wondering if
LinkedIn, an Indeed account, and actually, clearly identifying the job you want and getting people to apply, and then you'd be hiring them just like
that's
any other company.
exactly what I did with Jerome. So that's how I found Jerome. And this was back with my other company. I knew I needed someone that could do social and someone, and so I just made a list. And so I would really sit down and, like Anthony said, make a list of what has to happen, right, for your company to function. What is it that you are willing to do, and what is it that you want to hire people to do? And then sit down and do some research and figure out, okay, well, this can be done by a software. This I need an actual human being for, and then start to figure out the solutions on who to hire and how you want to go about hiring them. I like hiring through Indeed better than finding people on Fiverr and things like that, simply because, but I mean, I haven't had a ton of experience with working with those people, but I feel like I can vet a background, credential, essentially, resumes a little better through Indeed than I can through Fiverr and things like that. So Calendly is fantastic. I use Calendar Hero as well for scheduling. I love Calendar Hero. I also use a service called Avoma, which I love. Which automatically gives me transcripts of any of my sessions that I can then share with people who book with me, so they can go back and review the video and the transcript. And it just automatically does that. It makes it so easy for me to just share that out. And I absolutely love that. Anthony, I think I both use Calendar Hero, and it gives you can set up automatic links for people to schedule with you, and you put in the times and you connect your Zoom to it. It makes it super easy. And I just connect it to my Google Calendar. So they're both linked, and that you can just book me directly from the internet. So from CLCI's website. So like, that's fantastic because I've blocked out times on certain days that people can schedule with me. I know that those might come up on those days, so I'm always checking my calendar, but I really don't have to be involved in the scheduling for that at all.
Nicole, did you have any other further questions?
Kind of. I mean, we spent a lot of time on the social media part, and technically I have that part together. I just was looking to see what I could be missing, what could be hiding in plain sight. Like I scheduled with OneHub. OneHub has my prices. You're able to pay. You're able to see the rest of my schedule if I'm booked or not booked. So OneHub has been working for me, but I can also look into Avoma. But I need an event planner. I need a couple of other things. So that is helpful. I do like the Indeed portion to look to vetting people a little more closely. So I like that part. But I was looking for actually a list of what, like a toolbox of, like when you go to Small Business Administration, they say you're going to need a banker, you're going to need an accountant, you're going to need an insurance agent. So maybe a list like that to tell me what could I do? Because I'm not going to ever just leave my business in someone else's hands. And in past practices, when I would give the person, the wheel, I would end up disappointed at the outcome. So just looking for a basic list, a content writer or somebody to do blogs. But I found a way to automate blogs and newsletters and things like that. So that was just my question. Thank you.
I think at the back of the level 1 book, we have that business section, the opening your coaching business section in the back of the level 101 book. Sorry. And in the back of that, we go over, and there is kind of like okay, here's the pricing, getting a phone, getting a this, it's not in a list form, it's in that chapter, but it might be something worth reviewing because there might be some stuff. I would say also one of the things we don't cover in there that we should cover is insurance. But we recommend using Hiscox, which I'll put in, it's HISCOX. They have life coaching insurance and it's reasonably priced, and they often have discounts and things. And I know there are other companies too. I think even Progressive offers a business insurance for life coaches. But definitely reviewing that back of that 101 book, there's great information in there that I suggest that might help you shine a light on some of the things you're not thinking of as well, right? I love Event Planner, coming from a former event designer, and I love that you're thinking of that. That's fantastic. So, but yes, Indeed, has been a really fantastic resource for me to get a lot of applicants, and they have tools for you if you're the one hiring to just weed through them quickly. And like I will unabashedly cut people based on, like, I always make sure that there's a that they have to complete like what's it called? Anthony, what do they call those? It's like it's like an assessment. It's an assessment.
Oh,
So
I know.
and on Indeed, I always include assessments in my Indeed because I want to know the quickest way to weed through people who don't really care because they won't even take the assessment. And for me, I'm like, they're out. If you don't have the time to complete my assessment, then I don't have the time to worry about your resume. So I definitely set some very
Brooke, I put the link to the Hiscox in the chat as well. Yeah, and I think we can move on to the next person. Frank, I see that you put something in the chat, but you got your hand raised as well, so I might as well just address you now.
Really
what's
quick,
your question? Yeah, go on.
Before we go there, I just want to answer, can you use Calendly? I'm not sure if Calendly links to Stripe or something like that. I know that Calendar Hero does. Okay, yes, Kat says it absolutely does. So I'm just answering that question really quick.
Gotcha. Frank.
There may be a cost associated with linking it to Stripe, but yeah, okay.
Stripe was the other one. Okay. What if you just, like, I ask people, well, hey, do you need some life coaching, like friends and stuff? And they say no. Like, is there a way to word it differently so, you might be able to get a client that someone you know or something?
Yeah, and your question you asked as well in the chat was sort of the same. How do you make them want to do it? If you say life coaching, they say no. So me and Brooke, sort of in our back end, we did a little look-see around the internet, what people think of life coaching. Life coaching as a sort of general term doesn't really speak with people that much because life is a huge umbrella term and it applies to a lot of different things. So when somebody if somebody I kind of knew asked me if I wanted life coaching, that doesn't really tell me anything at all what they're offering me.
Yeah.
So that's why yeah, Brooke.
A quick, you're also selling process, right? We're not selling what problems you're going to solve. So we as human beings have specific reasons we're going to hire you, and it's going to be to do very particular things and for very specific outcomes. And so when you say I'm a life coach, I have no clue what that means or what that means for me as your client, right?
Especially
So
as somebody who like is on the outside of the life coaching sort of bubble. If there are people who maybe kind of know what life coaching is or maybe never heard it before, it doesn't really say much or doesn't really hold much value.
So you're much better served to know who your client is and then speak to how you assist your client, what job you help your client to do. And so example of this is if I was a coach that was helping small businesses find more revenue, essentially, like cut the fat and find a way to increase their revenue. That right there tells you, okay, wait, I know what I'm getting out of this. My revenue will be increased by working with this human being. If I'm talking on a more like personal one-on-one level, let's say I am a coach who assists women who are empty nesters and whose children have just moved out of the house with figuring out what the next steps in the next chapter of their life will be.
Or I'm a dating coach who coaches single men or maybe recently divorced men into finding their future partner. We're getting really specific with the kinds of people we're wanting to coach.
But we now are speaking to what problems we solve. And so if I am your client, I know what the results of what I will get when I work with you. And so that is going to make me much more inclined to hire you. Being able to answer those questions. There's even more to it than that. That's still speaking on a very broad level, but that's why one of the things we very much drive home in this is that niching and micro niching, because when you know who your client is, you're able to speak to the problems you can solve for them. And if life coach is, I don't know who you're working with. I don't know what you do. I don't know it's just this very generic and broad term. We use it as a company because that umbrella allows us to certify under, a number of different coaches who can go out and do a number of different niches, right? Because life coaching at its basic level is the same. The word coaching is what matters. Just something to keep in mind, essentially.
Does that sort of help address your question, Frank?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Kat.
Actually, you were just talking about niches, and I saw Alexia ask the question about niches in the chat. That was really excellent. If you want to do her question before you take me.
A bit further back, let's see.
Yeah, 2:15 it was posted.
I will say also, we have created some tools that are great for niching that I'm happy to share in the chat here. I think we've even done a live on it, a few lives on it, and we also have an article. So yeah.
I see Alexia. It's all the way back. So I'll address that one right now. I'm really struggling narrowing down a niche. Would it serve me best to choose one niche, or can I advertise to 3 different audiences that I feel I can specialize in based on my experience? So that's a complicated question.
Yeah, I wish he was here because there's some tools I have to help you with that.
But there could be 2 ways to go about it. Either there is something in common between all 3 niches, what you think is 3 different niches, where it's really can be distilled into one niche, or they are 3 very separate things, and you're making 3 marketing campaigns and possibly 3 landing pages for this, which creates a lot of work on the back end because it's almost like you're managing 3 different businesses.
So yeah, and I'm gonna ask Alexia a question really quick, and then ask permission from those people in the room. If possible, Alexia, if you're willing to turn your camera on, we can do a quick work together with each other. It'll probably take about 10 minutes or so. And I'd like to do it after answering Kat's question. But if you're not willing to do that, that's okay too. I can just sort of give you more general feedback in this space as well. But because it's just going to take a bigger chunk of time, we might be able to just talk through what those three are and get you to figure it out. Something I do very often. I have an offering I offer through CLCI, and a lot of times these are exactly the questions I get in those sessions. So I have some tools to help maneuver through that. But more broadly, the more people or groups you are marketing to, you're dividing your time, your resources, your business, and your energy. So that's the only thing. Yeah, Alexia, we could probably do that. Let me answer Kat's question and then I'll circle back with you. But I always say it's best to start with one person and move there. But sometimes we don't see opportunity between those three groups, like Anthony was saying.
Yeah, Kat.
So my question is mostly, I know the answer is going to vary a bit based on your niche or your specialty, but where are coaches most likely to find good leads? Is it through like ICF listings? Is it through some other magic land?
It does, and it does vary based on your niche, right? So if your client is looking for help on Facebook, right, or Instagram, I would say that's a great place. But if your client is the client that's searching in Google, then I would say Google is where you want to be, right? If your client is the type that's not going to really think social media is effective, but they're going to be great response to referral, I would do that. So something to know always though, as far as trust goes. So let's just talk about sort of customer trust. And that's really what assists in creating better leads. The more trust they have with you, the better the lead. So when it comes to referring, so you connecting with another person that has a customer base that already trusts them, like a therapist or a lawyer. If let's say you are somebody that works with people who are going through divorce, you can connect with a divorce lawyer. Let's say you're somebody that works with people who are somehow affiliated with a church. You could connect with somebody who worked within that church, and getting that referral, that face-to-face referral, that this is a coach, they can help you and I trust them, is probably the most valuable lead you could possibly garner, right? That's like top level. Referring leads are very powerful because there's already this huge amount of trust established. So finding a way to co-market with people that are working with your client is a really powerful way to generate leads. Secondary to that, I would say, well, if we're going to start to go into the more digital space at that point, right? So Google searches are great, but you also have to know that with a Google search, if it's just organic, your SEO has to be fantastic and localized if you want it to work quickly. Even then, it takes about a year for SEO to start to return. So then you're running Google ads. And so if you're running Google ads, you have to, they're very complicated. It's a very complicated space. So just make sure that whatever you're doing, you're tracking an audience that is paying you, you're setting that whole thing there. And then you're using keywords and search terms that your client is using. So you're solving that client's problem. Most people aren't typing in their search bar, I'm looking for a life coach, right? They're looking for more specific things. And those are the keywords you want to use. Email marketing is a fantastic way to market to people. It's one of the best, also great place to garner leads. But the thing with email marketing is you have to get their emails. How do we do that? We typically have to have created something that allows them to opt in to subscribe to your email list. And that can happen a number of ways. If you create a fantastic tool or a giveaway or a quiz or something that they utilize, and you just make sure to collect their information, an ebook, right? Collect their information, and then now they're in your funnel, essentially. They're in your email list, and then you can continue to market to them. And email marketing generates really, really high percentages of turnover. text messages. I mean, there's all different ways, but it's all a matter of garnering that information and garnering the information of the right person that you want to work with and the person that's going to hire you. Because we can get leads a number of different ways, but if those leads aren't the right human being, they're never going to convert. That makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
So.
Yeah. Did anybody else have any other questions, or we can go back to Alexia and she can type in her, I guess her 3 sub niches.
Yeah, I'm curious about what they are.
While Alexia is typing, if she will, does anybody else have any other questions we can address? Oh, never mind.
There you go.
Hold those
So
questions.
Teacher for 8 years. I've dealt with personally with stress and related and chronic conditions. I've found joy and passion, I guess, in the intimacy and relationships realm. I'm struggling to umbrella those niches without confusing potential clients, specializing in working with children and families, stress-related illness, and relationships. Well, when I see children and families, I see relationships there. That's a type of relationship's a very broad term, right? So how do we narrow down what relationships are? And so your niches, you're saying children and families, stress-related illness, and relationships. So when you're saying relationships, are you saying essentially like couplings?
Well, she also put for intimacy and relationship realm. So I'm guessing the intimacy might be the coupling.
So that is, I mean,
yep.
There may be a way to combine some of these. I would say if your client was somebody whose stress-related illness was affecting their relationship, that could be a way those 2 niches sort of mesh together. If that stress-related illness was something that was affecting children and families, again, a way to sort of marry those niches. But my question to you, Alexia, and typically what I would do in this space would be to find either, like a 3-sided dice or a, which Anthony might have.
I have a D6. I can roll a D3 on it,
where we would sort of ask you to commit to, if you had to, go ahead, grab a dice for us, Anthony. Let's do this quick exercise.
The exercise really quickly. I got some dice somewhere around here.
I'm sure he does. As he's doing that, so what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you, Alexia, to just go with me on this. It's going to feel uncomfortable for a moment, but we're going to assign the numbers 1 and 2, children and families. We're going to assign the numbers 3 and 4, stress-related illness, and we're going to assign the numbers 5 and 6, working with couples in an intimacy realm. Okay. And he's going to roll this dice right now, and whatever comes up, I'm going to ask that you commit to that and really think about that niche, and that niche being your niche. Are you willing to go with me on this, Alexia? Sounds good. Okay. So whatever happens, let's see.
Got 1.
What was it? 1. So family and children. Now I'm going to pause for a second, Alexia, just pause for a second. When he was about to roll the dice, did you feel any emotion towards any of those outcomes? Or how did you feel about the outcome you got? We're waiting very patiently for her to type quickly. I have a sneaking suspicion.
There's something that Alexia wrote above that made me like,
I have a
think she's
sneaking
more inclined to
suspicion
1.
we know where she really truly wants to be, and she's scared to be.
Also, you guys can do this with your own. Oh, just to see, she responded.
But I've been doing it. So there we go. She doesn't really want children and family, like, right? That's what I hear from your response there, Alexia.
So for those of us who can't read what we're saying on the live, she said, I feel like I'm so experienced with children and family, but I've been doing it for so long that I want change. Okay. Yikes, those typos, and yes, LOL.
So that tells us something. So now we have our other options, right? Which is, let's narrow it down the other 2. Do I can flip in here. Do you have a coin, Anthony? I
I've
usually have like a little heart.
got more dice.
Okay, that works. Well, we can just assign the dice again.
Well, let's explore with Alexia a little bit. So you understand that you want change, and that did you have any sort of feelings towards option 2 or option 3?
Well, that's why I was going to just redo the options 2 and 3. We're going to assign 1 through 3 illness.
Mhm.
And we're going to assign 4 through 6 intimacy. Okay, so 1 through 3 is illness, 4 through 6 is intimacy. And before you were just give it a moment before you roll it. Are you okay with that, Alexia? We'll make sure she's okay with it. Yes. Okay. So 1 through 3, what do we got?
We got 4.
4, intimacy. How do we feel about that, Alexia? I like it. Look at that. That's what I have. Sneaking suspicion. That's where she wants to be. So I think you've got what I've found whenever we do these kind of exercises with people. It's a simple exercise, but it's a quick way to find out where you're falling emotionally in this, right? A lot of times we get up in our heads and we have a lot of things going on up here that go, oh, well, I can do this. I can really do this. I can, or maybe it's safer if I do this. I feel safer if I do this. But the truth of the matter is somewhere in you, your heart is telling you where you want to be, but we're kind of scared to run with it.
Yeah, Alexia wrote, I keep thinking about intimacy and relationships when we talk about it. When I did the visualization in 101, I imagined a younger version of myself, which brought me to stress-related illness.
Well, and that's okay too. I feel like her response, though, I like it, tells us enough, right? And I think that's okay. A lot of us do envision our younger selves when we do that exercise. I think a great deal of us do. My question is, where will your heart sing? Where are you going to be the most excited to show up each day and work with that client? And she brought up the intimacy thing several times, which is why
in her first response,
I got that vibe from her.
She said, I find a lot of joy and passion, I guess, in intimacy and relationships. Those sort of very textual sort of feeling words did not pop up with the other things, really. So there was that kind of indication earlier on. And she writes as well, I have the most excitement and ideas in intimacy and relationships. I just don't feel like an expert, hence the fear. That's sort of weird. Like, it's weird to me to think about what makes someone an expert in intimacy and relationship. I mean, if you've at least had the experience of being in a relationship and, being intimate with someone, that probably qualifies you to coach in this space.
Secondary to that too, when I coach, when I am doing coaching, like actual true, like I'm getting ready, I need to be practicing ICF accredited coaching and I need to be working in a coaching space. I will not coach people who want coaching in places of my like true expertise. So marketing, I do not coach in marketing spaces because find it exponentially harder for me to be curious in those spaces, because I have all of these red flags, all of these things that go off, that all of this training that actually works against me as a coach. And so I find that while, yes, speaking in those spaces, establishing, this sort of expertise with regard to like coming up with maybe tools and offering them to people in those spaces is great, but it really puts me in the seat of a consultant. And so if I want to truly go into a space and coach people and do the act of coaching, I think that's a little bit of lack of expertise actually works in our favor, because it allows us to be coaches and use our expertise as a coach.
And she replies as well. True, I feel like if I did children and family, I'd have so many more ideas of what they should be doing based on my experience.
And so I think that it's actually a bit of a gift that allows us to really be an expert coach and not be a consultant in that space by being okay with going into those places we'll be really passionate about, but maybe we don't have all the answers in. I think that that's okay, because it allows us to to utilize our skill set as a coach and realize that, hey, that is the expertise that we really need to be effective in this space. The expertise that we really need to be effective in this space is to know how to coach and know how to coach effectively. And what does that mean? That means not having the answers. And so I think that's okay. It absolutely is. And I think that if you're excited and passionate about it, you're going to bring that with you every day. And that's going to make it a much more powerful experience for both you and your client. So.
And also, like, just to speak practically, like, a job is a job, and a business, running a business is a job. You're going to go a lot further doing something that you're passionate about and interested in, rather than something that you're technically an expert in. Because there might be rough patches, and you might burn out a lot faster doing something you're not even really that interested in anyways. So, you know, if there are ever rough patches in the future, that sort of passion that you have will get you through it and will provide the extra energy and boost to commit to maybe tasks that you don't really necessarily want to do for the business. And then as well, Frank, I see that you're gone. I was going to address sort of something you put in the chat, but I'll wait until you come back. And Alexia says, I'm shaking after this niche workshopping speedrun. Partners, part excitement. Thank you for working with me and challenging the preconceived notions. And yeah, this applies to everyone as well. If you're waffling between 2 or 3 decisions, just flip a coin, commit to one, and then see how you feel. Frank, you put a bit further up, thinking about the niche. Let me see if I can find your message again. Maybe it was a bit further up than I anticipated. Frank, you can just tell us, what was the niche that you came up with?
Recovery, Christian, and single.
Is that all one niche, or are you choosing between those 3 different niches?
Three different niches. Yeah.
3 different niches. So Christian, there's a lot of Christians out there. There's a lot of denominations of Christians, and there's a lot of spiritual issues that maybe they're working on or maybe wanting to achieve. So that's sort of a big group right there. Recovery, you know, I don't know, recovery from what? Recovery from drugs, recovering from
alcohol, drugs, yeah.
Okay.
And then single. I'm going to assume these people want to find relationships.
I think all three, if you combined the 3, you're getting closer to a niche, right? I work with Christian singles who are in recovery, but what are they working on, right? Like, what are they going to get? What is the end result of working with you, right? What job are they hiring you to be done? We recently did a marketing a marketing CLCI live that kind of speaks into this, and I'll drop the link. It might be worth looking at, because one of the things that we often don't think about is every one of our clients is hiring us because they want to accomplish something. There's a job that needs to happen and get done.
Yeah. The really simple way I think about it is, like, I don't hire a plumber because I like hanging out with plumbers. I hang out with the plumber because my toilet is leaking crap everywhere and I need that fixed. Like, that's a very specific thing I need done that can't really be done by anyone else. So think of yourself in that way. Like, what is my client needing to be done, and what do they want to walk away with? Because a lot of Christian people, they want different things. A lot of single people are going to want different things, and a lot of people in recovery are going to want different things. So what are going to want to have happened after coaching with you? And Brooke, I'm looking at the article right now. I'll drop it in. Oh, you put it in?
I just put the live. If you have the article, then
drop it. Yeah. I'll drop that in.
Absolutely. I think we're almost out of time, so we can wrap up here and sign off. Dan gave me our it's almost time warning, and
can
then
I
we
ask
can
a question
for a little bit.
Yeah, just
quick. You can't advertise for all 3, like, just to start with, and then kind of.
I still don't know what. I mean, I still don't know what the issue is, though. Like, what is it that they need why are they working with you, right? There's a lot of, that's a huge group of people, right? So what specifically is it that you do with your clients?
Well, I've been in recovery for 34 years and been a Christian for 34 years, and I've been single for 34 years. So I don't know. There's a lot there, just help people to be happy and content by themselves, or, just my favorite saying is one day at a time. I just, be content with just your one day of being alone, like being single. Can you be content with that? Because you don't know, you might meet someone tomorrow, and then you wasted all that time being discontent. So you might as well try and be content now.
So then is your ideal client somebody who is wanting to be content with their life?
Well, it sounds like it's somebody who is unhappy being alone, that is looking to be okay with being alone, right? Like not looking for a solution of I need to meet somebody, but looking for somebody who is Christian and in recovery and single, essentially, that is trying, and that's narrowing that niche, right? That is, and you could take it further. Is it a male? It's okay. So a man that is maybe younger than you or your age, that is in recovery, alone and single, and looking to find contentment or satisfaction with his life as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's narrowing it down, right? We're starting to get a better picture of who it is you're working with.
My inclination as well, having gone to church before, is that the stronger niche, in terms of if we're using contentment as the frame, contentment in the Christian framework, what does it mean to be content as a man who is single in the church or in their Christian relationship or their spiritual relationship? That might be this area where you might try to lean into, rather than being content with just single and I happen to be a Christian, or content with my recovery road, but I just happen to be a Christian. The Christian might be the stronger niche to sort of lean to, and then find the people who are single or in recovery who are looking to be content. And what does that contentment mean to the client in terms of their spiritual relationship? Those might be ways of approaching that sort of question about who your niche is while combining all three aspects.
I see that Anicia put in the chat suggestions to add credit card payment. There are so many point of sale services out there now. Square, Stripe, you can even do Venmo, Zelle, Cash App. There's so many options out there.
And these options also integrate with like the way you collect people's information, forms, Stack and Jot form, for example.
So those options might get narrowed down once you have a way for people to book with you, and it might become quicker and easier. So I use Stripe because it connects to Calendar Hero and does so very easily. We at CLCI use Square for a number of reasons, but I have also used plenty of other platforms to both issue invoices and get paid from QuickBooks. I don't suggest PayPal.
Yeah, no, PayPal. Sorry.
I don't.
They suck. They suck so bad. I got ripped off for $750 last year.
Don't do it. But most platforms, you probably want a platform you can invoice from or print an invoice from, just so you have proof of payment or get a receipt. So it's not all platforms have a tremendous way to do that, but since you're a business, I would pick.
We use Square, and I like Square a lot because it can handle a variety of payment options, or even payment plans. So Square's pretty good, squareup.com. And I think that will end our live. So thank you guys for stopping in and joining us. If you're on social media, be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, and join us the next time we do CLCI Live, Lunch and Learn, and congratulate everybody who's about to become Master Certified Life Coaches as well. Thank you guys all for participating, and we will see you guys later.